Welcome back to the Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Omari Haribin, founder of SQSPthemes.com. And if you're building a business for the users of this platform, if you've got products or services for the Squarespace community, then this show is for you. Today I'm talking with David Alex of LaunchHappy.co. At LaunchHappy, they are focused on helping business owners and freelancers supercharge their organic traffic, clients, and impact so that they can scale 100x. Me and David have been meaning to catch up for a number of years, and so there's a lot to talk about on this episode. So let's just get into it.
Yeah, I'll tell you straight, man. I've been inspired by your work so often, and I think you were one of the first to hone in on this opportunity of scaling something that I think can grow beyond this, but I kind of call it like a lifestyle business where you took a skill set and a problem and developed tools that would solve a lot of problems for people without necessarily having to be behind the wheel on every single project. Right. Because the freelancer dilemma is just that, is like, you get all these opportunities, you get work showing up, you get clients messaging you, which is great, but then also to scale. And I think my big hitter here, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is going to be like scaling impact. That's why I went to YouTube, and that's why I went towards changing our business name from Spacebar Agency to LaunchHappy, because I want to build a software company, a community, a tool that thousands can use without necessarily me being behind the wheel on developing it. So,
man, what a great introduction. That's a good segue into how I met you. I think you had bought our bundle, plugin bundle, and you left the best review up until that point in time. Awesome. I don't know if anyone has beat you with that review yet. If they have, you might want to update it.
Yeah, there we go.
But so good. But I thought you were like a doctor at that point in time. For some reason, and all I had I think there might have been two images I had of you in my head, and one had me thinking that you were a medical doctor, and the other had me thinking that you were a retired medical doctor, and that you were now doing websites and stuff. And I was like, yo,
oh, that's so
and then
funny.
I met you, and I was like, wait, he doesn't. I don't think.
No. Yeah, I got a lot of people in my family who study medicine, but I do not.
Look at that. See, it's just imprinted. It's in the imprint. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Yeah. And I'll just say,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the bundle, man, I just want to highlight it, is one of the best tools I've ever used. And I've used it consistently for so many clients. Even when we do SEO work now, I always recommend to clients, if they have a team page and they have all these portfolio or all the team bios, I'm like, hey, go check out the Lightbox. You should download it, buy it. It will make your site easier, so much better. So yes, that bundle has saved me in so many cases and helped me sell really custom projects and handling little tweaks to it, but being able to deliver something at a high level. So yeah, man. My story is this, man. I accidentally became a web designer. I went to university. I studied international business. I loved it, but I didn't realize when you graduate with an international business degree, what type of work you do, which is basically imports and exports or international accounting, which both of those are dreadfully boring to me. So I had to pivot. But in that time too, I had this opportunity where I went to Southeast Asia, I went to an orphanage, and I came back and I really wanted to build a website for these kids so they could get sponsored, build relationships, all of that. And that was the first site I built. It wasn't on Squarespace yet. I was using a different tool, but I honestly don't even remember. It was for a political party. See, this is the thing. When you're building a site for kids, the only functionality on a site typically is a store.
Okay.
And it's just weird to say store, add to cart, those types of words for a sponsorship thing was really, I had to find something that gave me a little bit more control to change those words. And at the time, I didn't know any other tool except this campaign tool. So I built it on that. I think I did 2 iterations on that. And then Squarespace released like something, I don't remember what it was, but that made it more powerful. And then that's when I went to Squarespace.
Got it.
Fast forward a little bit, maybe 2 years later, I built another site. I was working at a corporate job, 9 to 5. I was part of the marketing team. I was running Google Ads. And then they said they needed a site for something they were doing in London. And so I got paid on the job to build a one-page site on Squarespace. I remember, it's funny that I even documented this, but I spent about 40 hours building a one-page website. That was a lot of time and energy, but I got to learn so much. Uploading icons too big and sizing them right. It looks good on desktop, but it doesn't look good on mobile. Figuring out all those little things to really get the site to function the way we want it to and look the way we want it to. And that's where, when I was trying to leave the corporate job, that's where I was like, I think there's an opportunity here to become a freelancer. And most of my friends were designers. So even then I was kind of like, maybe I should become a graphic designer, but I didn't really know Illustrator. I didn't know those tools really well. So part of me was a little skeptical of that, but I started doing sites, and then I could get more into that part of the story, but I started freelancing and then started getting projects. Thankfully, I've never had a dry period. I've done work consistently over the last 7 years, and now we get more projects, more project inquiries than we could handle, and mostly focusing on SEO too. So that kind of is part of it as well. But I've been doing this now 7 years, and we built over 150 sites, probably touched over 1,000 with customizations, SEO, all of that.
When you started thinking about like this Squarespace freelancer thing, like when was the first time you like looked it up or like looked into it, and like what was your discovery that made you say, okay, let me jump in? Or like what was that like for you?
Yeah, my specific story didn't start with Squarespace as much as a freelance web designer.
Okay.
So that's where when I was leaving my corporate job, I was like, I've kind of built some sites. Maybe I could build it for like the restaurant next door, this cafe or something like that. And so I had a bit of experience, and I was trying to match it with a potential business problem. I didn't really know what that meant, but that's kind of what I was doing. I actually tried to partner with a friend, and we tried to do it. We cold emailed, we went to Yelp, cold emailed hundreds of companies, and nobody got back to us. We did that for like 3 months. We didn't get any inquiries. And then about another 4 or 5 months later, I tried it again on my own. And then that's when I positioned myself. I made a page on my website that said I build Squarespace sites. And then I ran Google Ads. I wouldn't recommend this now. You could try it. Somebody could try if they want, but I ran Google Ads, Squarespace website designer or freelancer.
Oh yeah, I used to see you.
Yeah. So it was crazy because I had no clout yet, but I was able to show up at the top. And then I had just enough in my portfolio. And this is what's really cool. Most people ended up working with me because they had seen my about page and saw that I had this like orphan care like part of my business that I did as well. So people were like, oh, he's human. He's not just a business, he's human. And I want to work with him.
And he might be a retired doctor.
Yeah. And I had my picture of my retired doctor. It's so funny. That photo is just hilarious because it's like, it's me in a tie. And that picture, I think that's what you're referencing. That picture was like a picture I took at like a job. What is that? Where there's like a bunch of people who are like,
job fair, job fair.
Yes. So I was at this job fair, and it was like, they were like, hey, we'll take a free headshot. And I took that headshot, and that headshot has been with me for like 10 years now. So
that's fruitful then. It's a cool story, man. So you just drove ads to that landing page, and that's how you started building the business.
Yep. My pricing was like $750, $749, right? $749, $949, and then like $1,500. Wow. Thankfully, the first client, I started running ads 3 days later, 3 days later, I got my first client, and he was $1,500. And then I didn't even know how to do a sales call. I didn't even know
Mhm.
what I was going to talk about. I didn't know I didn't
Mhm.
have a process, but thankfully I had two other freelancers around me. So
Yeah.
I was able to I called them a ton. I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I even talk about on the call?
Right. Right.
It's like, figure out the budget, figure out this, tell them your process, literally made up the process like on the
Yeah.
fly. And
Yes,
that
you go.
process is still the same process I use today. It's a 4-step process of from beginning to end on how I build a site, and getting a client a live site. But man, those steps are what taught me how to, what I'd say, like, be free. Because
Mm.
now if it's website design, if it's like helping with a brand, if it's any type of like business problem being solved, I have so much more like ability just because of those hard steps of trying to figure out how to make this work for myself. Because you watch YouTube videos and they say like make 30K a month, make 100K a month, like with this one product or whatever. But you just
Yeah.
have to go through that process yourself and really figure
Right.
out how that works, overall.
Well, I think now what I've seen from you is like you have what I'd call a lovely offer stack, right? There's
Mm,
like you're solving an array of problems that you've obviously encountered along the way. And you've documented and you've created processes and systems that work for you. And now, if anyone would like to work with you, they can work with you via proxy of just like, here's how David does it. And try it out and take what works for you. I don't know how you pitch it,
hmm.
but
Yeah.
that's how I imagine it. It's like, here are my recipes. Here's how I cook up my meal. And it's really interesting because I don't know when you were doing this, but there was a time where I was testing Google ads to a single landing page kind of thing.
Love it.
And it was really successful. And but like I turned it off, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't like my thermostat wasn't high enough to like manage, the capacity or taking I wasn't I wasn't I wasn't thinking in a way that was like abundant at the time. It was like, all right,
Hmm.
I'm just trying to like pay my rent right now and this
Yeah.
and I was still, even though the ads were profitable, it was almost like I was skeptical of this of the ROI. I'm like, no, I can't possibly be getting like leads at this at like this and so forth. But it was happening. I just
Yeah.
like I literally didn't believe it, even though it was happening. So I turned it off and like
Yeah.
I did something else. But I think I might have burned out at the same time as well. But either way,
Hmm.
it's really interesting that you took a skill that you were using in your corporate career along with the skill you were developing on the side and you merged them in the direction of a business problem, surrounded yourself with people who could like help you along the way, right? Answer all those
Hmm.
questions. And then you turn that whole experience into uh, products and services that help other people. Man, look at that.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's a good summary. That's great, man. That's a good summary right there. Because I think where I'm at right now
Yeah.
is I'm trying to, how would I describe this? I'm trying to give people offers at any level of engagement they want to
Right.
engage at. So if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want to do a site with me, it starts at 15,000.
Hmm.
Most people, that's a big number, but if they want like a professional Ritz-Carlton experience, that's where we'll start at. And
Yeah.
then in between that though, we have a ton of content for free. If you want to build your site, I talked to a 19-year-old yesterday who's in college full time. And I just wanted to like interview. He was saying like your content's valuable, all that. So we got on the phone. And as we were talking, he was telling me like, oh, when I found Squarespace as a potential freelance business, then I
Yeah.
started doing specific searches. That's when I found you. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's exactly what we do. Like anything, if you go to YouTube or Google, that's our main thing. Like Squarespace had to like set up links, like
Hmm.
hyperlinks. That's what we target. We try to help
Right.
people at that point. So there's a ton of free content. Then there's our starter kits, which are like less than $100, most of them. Then we have like
Hmm.
these courses in the middle, and we have these like SEO packages. So we give people the ability to engage with us at any point or whatever
Yeah.
process they want to. Overall, I would say we're trying to grow our actual, I would say, like, how would you describe that? Our sales process, trying to get
Hmm.
better at that. I think for the amount of people we engage with and the actual amount of sales, there's a
Yeah.
disconnect. It could be
Mm,
better. I'll say it that way. It's doing well,
yeah.
but I think it could be better where
Okay.
people are like, if they're watching this video about blogging for free on YouTube, this 30 or $50 product is more than like, should be something they see as like, that's a dead giveaway. I need that. Like not, it shouldn't even be a question. So we're trying
Mm,
to really invest in that going into the new year.
wow. You know, I have a similar problem where the similar, like just like how I was saying once upon a time, I was getting a certain result, but like I didn't have the capacity to like imagine how to grow it. Um, and then I'm in a similar realm where it's like I'm getting a certain result and it has incredible, you know, there's incredible capacity to like grow it. If I were to get granular again, right? If I were to go
Mhm.
back to what I was doing day number one, where every single, you know, like every single contact mattered. Not to say that it doesn't matter today, but it's like
Right.
my capacity is constrained, right? So it's like, how do I expand my capacity? What I got to get out of myself.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you're gonna go about solving this problem or what you have, but I'm curious because
Yeah.
I think I have a similar problem that I got to solve for.
Yeah.
And one of the things for me has kind of been like um people people engage, like I didn't imagine I'd be doing this for like a long amount of time, like years and years.
Yeah.
But doing it years and years, people engage with you over time, you know, for years. And so like I never imagined that. And so I didn't think in terms of the lifetime value that I was providing or creating. And so now I'm aware. And so I kind of have to like catch up to my awareness.
Yeah.
But I love what you have in terms of the offer and allowing people to engage where they are. I'm in the process of building that out now, uh, bit by bit. And it's really fun and exciting because it's like once you can connect those dots where it's like every piece of content, quote unquote, like it's not just like frivolous, like
Mhm. Yeah.
it's connected to like getting the result in the best possible manner. And maybe the free content can get you but so far.
Mhm.
And you got to like go a little deeper. You need like, you know, more interaction with you to like
Mhm.
personalize it or whatever. But like I've had experiences recently where I thought of a problem, I spoke with someone that made me think of the problem even more. Then I went and looked for a solution and uh found a free video and then immediately went and bought that person's like template or, you know, something
Mhm.
to get there faster.
Yeah.
And so like thinking in that terms of like, okay, well, like someone is always harvest and desire. And you know, to build that into your business where people are continually you know, arriving at a positive result and then another positive result and then another positive result. And they're like, wow, this guy is just full of positive results. I don't want to lose track because I might miss out on something. And anyway, that's my that's my rant on that little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. And I think someone I also look at that does this really well. I don't know if you spoke with him, Will Myers.
Hmm.
I think he does it really well. He solves
Yeah.
very practical problems. I run into him randomly. So I'm
Hmm.
doing a search on this random problem over here, and then I run into his content and another problem over here, and I run into his content. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this
That's
is
when you
really
gotta like
useful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Like, shout out, man. That's great. And so and then the other thing too, which I think you're actually really good at as well, is I don't see this often, but you do this well, is testing. When I
oh right.
started, when I had that one landing page,
Yeah.
maybe 6 months into it, or even 2 months into it, yeah, it was probably about 2, 3 months into it. I would start creating other landing pages on like specific things I could target on Google that I thought would be
Yeah, yeah.
useful, solving custom code
Yep.
solutions. It was crazy because over a weekend, I would build a landing page, I create the ads, and then by like a Tuesday, I would like get my first like lead, which
Yep.
was crazy at the time because I was like, I don't even know how to do code, but if I can help solve this and like figure this out, that could be great. And so I went through that process. I did that for custom code. I did it for like a monthly, like, hey, we'll maintain your site for a monthly fee. That both of those didn't really work out the way I thought, but
Yeah.
I love testing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we just even built maybe 4 months ago a custom how to land bigger projects by understanding custom code. I don't teach people specifically how to be the best coder. If you want to do that, there's probably a ton of resources out there that you could like reference. But my focus on that course is like, if you could build the confidence to know when you should code, when you should hire someone to code, how to find the best plugins, or, and then even like how to quote a project that there are customizations.
Yeah.
That is a whole nother sphere that I got into that I just feel so confident now. Where when
Mm.
I started, I describe it like learning a language, like as a kid, you learn
Yeah.
how to speak and then you learn how to write and read and all of that. So often people think they need to learn how to code first, but it's like learn how a website's built, learn the structure, learn a header, learn how a page is built, what the footer is, what H1 is versus H2 versus body versus a paragraph, all that, learn all that.
Mhm.
And by learning that, you're learning how to code and you're learning what a class is and what a property is and all of that. So yeah, but just testing. I think my next big test right now that you'll see is a community. I'm just trying to figure out how to create it. It's so funny. I was asking that guy yesterday, and I said, like, should I use like Facebook or like a third-party tool? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm 19 and I haven't touched Facebook in years. He's like, it's dated and old. And it's like, I wonder what your thoughts are on that too, because I think I don't necessarily use Facebook. I don't really prefer to go on Facebook, but
Yeah.
it's also a place that a lot of people are already on. So
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to figure out how to build that
Well, where do
community
you prefer to go?
for a community.
Yeah, like what communities are you a part, like paid communities that you like,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I dig this.
I'm
No.
not, I don't, yeah, I'm not in
Yeah.
any right now. Yeah. I've used some, like I bought a course where they're like, oh, here's a community. And like
Yeah.
the main one I've seen is Circle.
Okay.
And that one I like, but the challenge there is you always have to have that open tab or the notification that takes you in there. So
Mhm.
if you're not in there, like
Yeah.
consistently, the tab's not open all the time, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. And that's kind of where I
Right.
think the Facebook part plays into more
Because it's
value.
closer to home.
It's closer to home, ton of communities in there already.
Yeah.
You'll get email, maybe you'll get an email about some notification that you go check. So I'm not a Facebook fan in that way. Like I'd rather
Yeah.
do Circle, but I'm trying to see what's actually practical. Cause if my course is hosted on like the Launch Happy site, or it's like, and then there's this community and there's all these different like things. And we use a lot of stuff in Notion, which actually I'm going to change soon because we've gotten a lot of people love it, but if they don't have a Notion account, they
Yeah.
struggle to get into Notion, and
Right.
I've had complaints basically,
Okay.
and enough complaints where it's like, oh yeah, we should probably change this around. I did it because Notion is like I could easily update it in my account, and everyone gets
Mm-hmm.
the update because when I
Mm-hmm.
sell starter kit, I give them access into it. So instead of, yeah, I'd love your thoughts on this. Instead
Yeah.
of the process where it's like, oh, I email them an update and then they have to re-download it, it's like
Mhm.
it's the same exact Notion page,
Right.
but now there's new content added to it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had both of those problems, right? So the circle versus Facebook group. Like I've been a part of circle communities where embedded in that there's like a daily streak commitment thing. So you're
Mm,
incentivized to show up every day, and that unlocks a next level. And you hit 100-day streak, then you unlock another level of access within the
interesting.
community. And I was like drawn to that. um so like I think I unlocked like one level, you know what I'm saying, because there's like a gamification part of it. And
Yeah.
then the streak, if there's a self incentive to the streak, and then also a communal, when I think with community, with you want to do that thing where it's like uh where the ego can also drive value, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means like people are incentivized to contribute something that is going to better themselves
Yeah.
and other people simultaneously by proxy and so on. So that kind of like mastermind approach, gamification approach,
Mm-hmm.
It could work in a Facebook group, or so it could work anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So my dilemma has been like, I joined these communities, and then I'm like, then I'm in a like one that's on Mighty Networks, and I'm like, oh, I like
Mm-hmm.
this. This is cool. Like I like the feel of this. So I try
Yeah.
that. And then like I don't launch the community. I just play with the tool for a bunch. It's like, so
Yeah.
I end up in the cycle of just like keep testing, like I just keep testing all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I realize like it comes down to like, well, where do you like to frequent the most? Like where's most practical for you from your
Mm.
own personal engagement, where it's not a reach for you. Because if you feel like it's going to be a reach for you, then you're going
Yeah.
to kind of subconsciously feel like it could be a reach for someone else, right?
Yeah. That's so good.
So keep it where it's like not a reach for you, and you'll provide that confidence. And because like it's the same thing with the Notion, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
people who love Notion and they love the stuff that you've got, right? But they might be a small segment who still need to be fed. But then maybe the rest of the people, they just need it in like a Google Doc format where it's like, let me just get this,
Yeah.
or let me just copy over the Excel sheet instead. And you can still update the Excel sheet maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
have a way to do that. Um, but yeah, that's what I've found. It's just kind of like everyone has their own, you have your own way that works best for you. And your audience, your core audience, is gonna be the same for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then anyone who resonates with that, they'll fall in line as well, or whatever, depending on whether we're talking about your personal brand or the other brand. But
Yeah.
same thing applies. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's my take, man. It's like I haven't figured it out yet myself. Like, other than I need to just like get out of my own way and keep having those conversations that would inform me on like, all right, here's what would actually be cool and would work versus like me just trying to come up with it myself, because I can do that forever. I could test
Yes.
the stuff
Yes.
forever. I like that.
Yeah, no, completely. I love that. I think I'm gonna sit on that too and see what has been helpful and useful for me. Because even thinking about it now, it's funny because actually Slack is probably what I use the most for any
Okay.
type of community group.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And like
um,
I'm in a Slack one.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't use Slack myself, but I would show up for that because there were certain things I could only get there. Right.
yes,
So it's like,
yes,
doesn't matter if like I always have 20 tabs open and then another window and 20 tabs and then another window. So it's like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
if the trigger's there, I'm gonna go there.
Yes,
So make sure the trigger is in the community to for you to show up in a way that other people would want to show up for themselves as well.
yes, yes. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I'm glad you
It,
asked because I haven't spoken to anybody about this.
yeah, I know. It's like one of those things that I want to do it in the most, and then what we're trying to figure out once we get that sorted is what we're actually going to offer or pitch it
Yeah.
as and give. Because I want to potentially provide a custom CSS hub for people,
Okay.
like core things that they could use or navigate with the new updates in Squarespace constantly, for like
Uh-huh.
Fluid Engine and being able to like update buttons or small things with just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of like code that will really help them. Um,
Mm.
and then giving people a way to go deeper into the community, because there is another subset of coaching that I want to do for those people who are between, say, they land projects consistently between 2 to 5K, but they
Mm-hmm.
want to get to somewhere between, let's say, 4 to 12, and basically like the double your rate type of like coaching.
Okay.
It'd be
Yeah.
a 3-month program. They get in, they should have clients already. This isn't the brand new person, but somebody who already is getting clients, but just needs to boost their confidence, their
Mm-hmm.
processes, their systems, and their actual deliverables. Because it's crazy how much I used to go back and forth with clients when I started. And now the process is so smooth. But part of
Yeah.
that is just the confidence in the delivery and selling the vision, not just the code. Nobody cares about the
Yeah.
code. So it's really learning, how do you sell this vision to the client so they see what you see, in the potential of the site. And
Yeah.
why I love Squarespace is it's just so easy for them to manage it. Once you've done the hard work of the actual design, user experience, all of that,
Yeah.
brand fonts, colors, changing images and text is just a few clicks. And so they can manage it from there. But yeah, definitely looking into this whole community aspect and what it looks like to have a like a mastermind or coaching aspect to it as well, to help those people who are freelancers at another level.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, keep me posted because I have similar, similar ideas around that. And it would be useful to me to not like waste them.
Yeah, totally.
So if I could contribute anyway, that would be cool. Um, so give me a little bit about the transition that you've made in your business from being a freelancer, right? You kind of touched on it early on to like seeing it as a scalable business. Like I didn't realize that until I realized that there were viable like websites in the same kind of realm. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have that type of mindset initially, but once I did, I was like, oh, okay, there are other ways. And then it kind of just keeps like blossoming. It's like, now I have to think differently. Now I have to think
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear your take on like your how you've been able to scale and your how you're building your personal brand in relation to that.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, so it was probably 2019. 2019 was my best year of business to date.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I had maybe cleared a little over 100K in a year. And then
Mm-hmm.
2019 was like over 200. And
Yeah.
so it was just an amazing year. I stacked a lot of cash too because I was just living very frugal at the time. But during that time, even before that, probably, I knew I could only work with say 10 to 20 clients. It's sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
simplest ideas that have the biggest impact. I knew I could only work with 10 to 20 clients at a time. And if I want to reach, I knew there were millions of Squarespace websites out there.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to reach more people, I would have to have something that would be separate from my time. Because the question I asked myself, if 100 people came to me today and said, David, I'm ready to give you a deposit to pay for a site build, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able to help them.
Mm-hmm.
It would be way too much. And so that was the realization that then took a year and a half to then start to create content on YouTube. We started in July of 2020,
Okay.
creating content on YouTube, and then really start pushing the blog maybe 2-3 months after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the starter kit started in December of a year ago is when I
Okay.
built my first starter kit.
Yeah.
And then it's just been that transition. So I still
Yeah.
respect, I still do client work. It's very minimal now, but I still do client work. We still do the SEO work. The SEO work is a more scalable business model because my
Mm-hmm.
team can help in a very great way on
Okay.
getting everything dialed, where then I do the hierarchy, like, or the higher level overview of the site, the
Mm-hmm.
details, and really go in and give the client great feedback on how to build the site further.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate to work with some clients who have sites who are getting organic traffic in the hundreds of thousands each month. And
Yeah.
so we know what works. It's just a matter of people consistently doing it. You're really good at this. It's like you got to publish content and you're playing the game. You just got to play the game. Like you can't
Yeah.
think one post is going to do it. You just got to continue to play the game overall. So back to your question, yeah, that's really what pushed it in that direction. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also just realized that sometimes there's these transitions where I wish I could be 100% divorced from my time right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it is partially on my time. And every time I build a new product, I separate that a little bit more. So then
Mm-hmm.
we have more starter kits we want to build. We have more downloadables we're going to be building.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to vamp up the content, especially with the Fluid Engine updates. There's a lot of stuff that you have new control over on designing buttons or images or layouts and sections. The other thing I'm thinking about, and I'm just all of it right
Yeah.
now. The other thing is I want to build part of my designer starter kit is like a starter template. So you could brand the colors really quickly and easily,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and have all those 10 sections built out for all the colorways that you could use.
Is that there now or that's coming?
That's there now.
Oh, okay, bet.
What I want to add to it
Mm-hmm.
is a Fluid Engine, like 50 sections pre-built, Because one of the
Okay.
challenges with Fluid Engine is just like if you're building the section where there's an image on one side, text on the other, a header, a description, and a button,
Mm-hmm.
well, they might give you the layout as a starter, but it's the opposite. So the image is on this side. So then you want to switch it and then you want it to be optimized for mobile already rather than you have to
Yeah.
do that every time. Well, if you
Right.
had a template that has those 50 designs and then you just have them as saved sections now,
Mm-hmm.
like that brand new feature is like, well, you can start a site and build out everything you want really quickly and easily.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the pre-built templates in Squarespace are not necessarily ideal. I don't
Yeah.
use a lot of them. They like look cool. There's like the floating text and an image and then like a random
Yeah.
image and some text, but they're not actually sections I would actually use.
Mm-hmm.
So having those pre-built in Fluid Engine that are already optimized for desktop and mobile with no imagery, just lorem
Yeah.
ipsum and like
Right.
blank images is the next thing I want to add to the designer starter kit and possibly just offer as if you're a designer, save yourself the time, pay whatever, I don't know, $100, $150 for this template
Mm-hmm.
and use it as your starter every single time you build.
Yeah.
Uh, Rather than trying to recreate all these sections and trying to
Mm.
recreate it every time you get in there.
I like that. So now I can't, because I haven't checked it out fully, right? So like I'm
Mhm.
hearing it from you the first time, like anybody else would hear from you the first time.
Yeah.
So the starter kit, that sounds like it could be really appealing to me. Give me like what am I getting with the starter kit? Like
Yes.
I'm getting this template, like the CSS kind of a thing. What else?
Yeah. So with the designer starter kit, that's our biggest starter kit. And it's
Mhm.
for specifically if you're a Squarespace freelancer, this is going to save you a ton of time. I walk through my proposal and I
Okay.
provide my proposal as well. So you could
Hmm.
copy and paste everything from it, adjust it to your liking. And then I do a walkthrough of how I build a proposal in 10 minutes
Hmm.
and that whole process. We also have a few plugins in there, just like simple custom code things that I use on every single site.
Yeah.
Um, that revolve around say like the buttons or the footer or removing hyperlinks or the underline on a hyperlink, that type of thing.
Hmm.
And then inside of it as well are I think what's most important, but depends on the person, is my guiding principles.
Okay.
How do you build a great process? How do you build a great flow? How do you build uh, yeah, a system that is scalable? Because yeah, you could start to go from a $5,000 project to a $10,000 project and quote unquote double your rate. But if you could build a $5,000 website in half the time, you also doubled your rate.
Hmm.
So there's my whole like philosophy around that as well in the packages. How I do deliveries. I never send a client design work without a Loom video. It's like
Okay.
before Loom was like official, I'd literally spend the time to record my screen,
Hmm.
upload it to YouTube, make it unlisted, and then add that to the email because I just saw so much value. And I could share the exact story of when this happened, but I see so much value in walking the client through the vision
Yep.
and showing them what you actually built, not assuming that they even understand how to navigate the site. I don't
Hmm.
even, this is the footer. They might not know. They might think it's just part of the homepage. And they're like,
Hmm.
could you change this on the homepage? And you're like, well, that's the footer. Oh, okay. So there's all of
Right.
that process as well, where I just walk through that. And I think really, if you get anything, it's going to be confidence
Hmm.
because all those pieces are core pieces of my process that I use to do $15,000 sites. So
Hmm.
if you're just starting out or you have any questions or you're kind of skeptical about your proposal, you're unsure of how to send it, how to have the conversation, what questions to ask on the initial call, that's part of it. Um, the designer starter kit will walk you through all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your first it sounds like it's definitely worth way more than it costs. So but I also remember that you started with like an SEO course and like a Squarespace course
Mhm.
um like years ago now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And because I remember hitting you up to be an affiliate of one of them.
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sure. Just give me a sec or something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
like what was going on for you then that made you like out the gate know like, all right, I want to teach this stuff that I'm learning.
Yeah. So that's a great question because it just reminded me too. When I started, I built my first course, I think at the end of 2017, or no, sorry, 2018, beginning of like 2019. And I
Okay.
mentioned earlier that 2019 was my best year of business. This is what happened. I built a course to sell a course.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening was everybody who came to me for website design saw the same package as every other designer they talked to. But when they saw my package, they also saw the course.
Mm-hmm.
And the course was this added bonus of like, hey, I'm not just considering what you need right now, I'm also considering what you're going to need right after.
Yeah.
And it built so much clout for the client to be like, this guy really knows what he's doing. So more than anything, I wasn't selling a course. I was
Mm-hmm.
selling a website package that included a course. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's what led to the SEO side of it. Beginning of 2020, it's funny, before the pandemic and all of that, I was very much in a place of like, let me reconsider how I build my business and how I
Yeah.
develop tools and resources for people. And that's where I started stepping into SEO and really considering SEO. And then
Mm-hmm.
because of the circumstances, SEO just became a really important part of a lot of people's businesses. So we started doing SEO projects then and developing that out. That's when I built the course. Same thing again. We have a full course that you can buy for $150, but
Mm-hmm.
it you could either do the service like $400 to $800, but if you can't afford that, the course is 150. You're going to learn everything and be able to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Uh, that I would do in a package. And that's been now kind of the breakdown of those
Yeah.
courses. I see as those kind of support pieces in a
Mm-hmm.
bigger package. And sometimes what you build something for, I've really learned this, it's not just what you build it for, it's what it can support around it. So in
Mm-hmm.
the future, we'll probably have bundles. You could
Mm-hmm.
buy our designer starter kit and our blogging starter kit as a
Yeah.
bundle. And it's maybe we get more sales on that versus just one individually.
Mm-hmm.
And so just continuing to build products that
Yeah.
complement each other,
Yeah.
systems and tools that complement each other, so that over time it's like, wait, for $300, I could get 10 starter kits. I could get
Mm-hmm.
these 10 like guides on download, all this stuff on SEO, blogging, design,
Mm-hmm.
who knows, all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's bundles being built into it. So I just continue to press in. And also we talked a little bit about it, but it's so important that you, when you're testing things, that you just build. Like I couldn't, my whole focus with YouTube right now is to do 1,000 videos. It sounds
Okay.
obnoxiously crazy, but like we're at
No,
like
that's
300,
yeah. Oh
and
wow.
my goal is to just continue to do videos. Why? Because I'll become more concise, I'll become
Yeah.
clearer. Talking to a piece of glass is awkward when you're like literally sitting in a room by yourself. Like figuring out how to be dynamic on a piece of glass by yourself
Yeah.
is like its own process. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know through that, no matter whatever it looks like, there's going to be a ton of value provided, but I'll also be able to then use that skill set in whatever I do. So in the future, when I have this idea of like, we could build a software tool that does this or that and solves this huge problem, I already have a ton of experience. Because my first
Right.
course, the shot was ugly. There was like, the audio was bad. My flow was really bad, but I had to learn how to do
Yeah.
this and just
You do it
continue to do
anyway.
it. Yeah. And now today it's like that process is way smoother for me, a lot easier. I still think there's a lot I could learn and get better at, but it's a whole different experience today. So it's like,
Right.
if you're thinking about building courses, sometimes people want to over invest on the first one, but likelihood is the first one's going to be ugly or like not the
Yeah.
best. So you
Mm-hmm.
just got to do it and get through the first one and then do it again and then do it
Mm-hmm.
again. And by that third, fourth one, you're going to have a really great product you're offering
Yeah.
uh, to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the faster you can close in on that cycle, the faster you'll get to that that great product.
Yes.
So don't stretch it out too far.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
um, hey David, man, it has been great talking to you. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our audience has learned some as well. So I mean, I'll give you my biggest takeaway from that is uh, lately I've been sharing my fast and quick model for doing these info products, right?
Hmm.
And I think the way you attach it to a service that you're already offering,
Mm,
um not with like expectation that like, hey, I'm gonna sell this thing and make a whole ton of money, but that like it's actually gonna serve, it's gonna allow me to serve better, because either people who can't afford the service that I'm so focused on trying to sell, either they're gonna benefit now, um or the people who can, like they also get the benefit of just getting to trying it out for themselves first and being like, okay, yeah, let me hire this guy to do this. Now
mhm.
that I see what they're gonna do, and I like I've already clearly signed on to it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, let me pay for the service. I think that type of a model is just really sound for a freelancer, because it's like you're not, there's always a lot of risk involved with taking your time away from your client work to go create these stuffs and whatever, and these marketing
Hmm.
assets and content, and it can get to be much. But if it's always connected in a way that makes sense, where it's like there's no content that doesn't lead somewhere, there's no product in your catalog that doesn't lead somewhere, there's no service that you offer that doesn't lead somewhere, all it's all heading you in a certain direction. And that way, as people discover it wherever they are, they can kind of like find their way through your way. Hey,
Yes. Yes.
that's my word for today.
There it is. There it is. I love that. That's good. That's good.
Find
Yes.
your way. Okay, man, David. If there is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we chop it up,
No,
wrap it up?
I would say the biggest thing is just like I think what I have like a special ability to do when I talk to people or coach or whatever is to get
Yeah.
people to go. And it's
Mm,
just so important to move forward, to go, to press in, to like it's awkward. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be ugly. Like just build it and move
yeah.
forward and set yourself up to for like a launch day. Put like things in place that really get you moving forward, because the only way you're going to know is if you do. I live by this quote, like uh, to know and not do is to really not know.
Mm.
And it's like in today's world, it's so easy. We know about a lot of stuff. We're
Mm,
familiar with a lot of things, but
yeah.
often we rarely like execute on them. And so I
Yeah.
assume for myself that I don't really know.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
actually helps me. Unless I do it, I'll talk
Yep.
about it. But if I don't do it, I don't know about it. I've never done drop shipping, so I don't talk about drop shipping like an expert.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a lot there that I think is like really valuable in today's world, is like do it. Don't say you're going to do it. Don't say you know how, like until you do it, then you know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I encourage people in that. You could find like all our resources either on our YouTube channel, David Alex, or we changed it from Digital Essentialist to David Alex, and then on the website launchhappy.co, where we have the SEO audit tool, and we have
Mhm.
all our starter kits. We have a ton of blog posts, there's a lot of free content, and I love it because it just can help so many people. So yeah, that's definitely our world right now, and all the things we talked about today would go through Launch Happy. So
Right.
the community or that template or any of that, you'd find it
Yeah.
on Launch Happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I've already watched the past couple of years how it's unfolded, and so I'm excited to see how it continues.
Let's go. Let's go. Appreciate you so much. Yeah.
No doubt, man. No doubt.